today's video, we're going to talk about how to connect n8n, which is like an amazing no-code automation platform, and connect that with Voiceflow so that we can build an agent which can look at your emails, send emails, and also work with data to analyze that data and give it back to you, right? So this is going to be a super interesting. We're going to work through like completely on how to set up an n8n, what you need to set up to get your first execution done, and let's get started, right? So first things first. Whenever you come to the platform, first thing that you have to do is you have to come and click on create. Right now, I already have a couple of options created, but the first option, you have to go ahead and create a workflow, a credential, or a project. Now, a project is very simple. You can just simply select a project, add a project, let's say Voiceflow demo, right? And you can just save that, right? And then again, you can add other members to this and all the other things, and you can use it as required. So you can see there's a personal project that I have, all my workflows, and then there is a Voiceflow demo. So let's say I want to move these flows from a personal project to something else. I can do that. But again, we're just going to keep it simple. We are going to start with creating a simple workflow, right? Now, I already have a lot of workflows created here, and again, this is me testing everything works out. So create a workflow, and once you come here, you will see this particular step happening here, right? So that's the first step is the something. And once you click that, you will get to this particular workflow. Now you can come here and let me just zoom in so you can see it a bit clearly. You can rename the workflow here, right? So Voiceflow, I can say YT demo for Gmail, right? Now, again, very simply, what we try to create right now is how can we get unread emails from our Gmail account into n8n, and how does that data then goes back into Voiceflow. Okay, this is going to be a super interesting one if you have not done this before. First, come here, click on add a first step. One thing that you have to do is click on webhook, and we are going to select this. Just before I do that, I just want to say, if you are interested in working with me in anything related to AI, go into the link below and we can talk more. This is created, and we're going to use this in our Voiceflow option just to see how this works. You can see there's an option listen for a test event, right? We can copy this and technically just paste this in the URL, and you will see this option coming here, which is just simply says workflow has started, right? Nothing is happening here because we don't technically have anything done here. It just simply takes this data and shows this, okay, this is what it came from, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so let's come back here. We'll just leave this as it is. The first thing you have to do is just set up webhook. Now, a couple of options that we'll change here once we come back. But the second thing is we want to select Gmail, right? So go ahead and action up and select Gmail. That's it. And then I want to select in Gmail, I want to get only the emails that are unread from my inbox. So let's say I want to create an assistant which takes all my unread emails and creates a draft for them or gets me information about that. I just want to do that. So I just want to select very simply get many messages. Now messages is just email, right? Again, it's just weird that they say that messages instead of Gmail, but let's just keep that, right? So very specifically, when you select a credential to connect to a Gmail account. Now, in case you have not connected your Gmail account, click on create new credentials, and you can go ahead and sign in here. Now again, you can just click on sign in with Google to sign in into your account. Because I've already done that, I'm not going to do it. But again, if you click here, it will just start like, I said, and I already have that. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to close this and just select Gmail account. Because I'm not signed in, it will not work, right? And then again, you can go ahead and edit this and all of those things, etc. Perfect. Now, very simply, we're going to select message, right? That's what an email means here. And then keep that operation get many. One thing that I want to do is I want to limit this to 5, right? Again, very simply because again, I don't want to fetch 50 emails in one shot for an unread format. Again, I don't think that would work out really well, but also just from a user experience perspective, keep it to the number that makes sense for you. It can be 10, it can be 15, it can be 50, but it's up to you on how you want to do that. Here, we are just going to keep it 5, right? Then I want to make sure that we are not fetching everything. So right now, if I click on 5, it will fetch everything that is in my inbox. I don't want to do that. I want to come here, select a filter, and you can see there are so many filters. You can also filter by a sender. So let's say you want an email that is only coming friends or your family, and only that should show up. You can do that. But let's say read status, and we're going to select this as unread emails only, right? And you can see multiple options here. You might want to see only the read emails, want to use unread emails. Just select that, and we're going to test this step, right? Now it will execute this code, and you can see a couple of emails in box, and then the limit of 5 items is reached. There may be more items returned, right? So we are just fetching the top 5 emails, which are 5 top latest email unread, and everything else is obviously not going to be pulled across, right? Perfect. That's amazing. Now this last option that we have to is respond to webhook, right? Because you have a webhook which is going to fetch data and through this workflow and say okay, go ahead and take this data from it and bring it to me. But I also want to have a bit more granular control on how it responds. So click on respond, and instead of responding with the first incoming item, I want it to respond with the JSON. I want to respond it in a specific format. I don't want all of this information, right? I don't want this labels. I don't want this like, internal date, history ID, and all of those things, right? I just want very specific information. So if you come here, you see that when using expressions, this will only return the first item, right? And that is a problem here, right? Because I don't want only the first item to be returned. I want literally all the emails, the top 5 emails that are coming in, to be responded in a specific JSON format. Okay, so let's come back in and see what we can do. I'm going to extend this flow here, and I'm going to select a crazy new operation, and I am just going to click add here and select data transformation. Okay, now again, just to like simplify this for you, you can see, click here, data transformation, and we're going to use edit fields, right? Now what does edit fields mean? Very simply, we are getting a lot of data from Gmail, right? We are getting all the information. We just want 3 things. We want who did the email come from, what is the subject of the email, and what does the email content actually contain. Now again, you can see that there are 2 options here. You can see there are 2 options here, manual mapping and JSON. We are going to use JSON because we also want to send this data back to Voiceflow, and then Voiceflow won't be able to work with anything other than JSON in the way that we are going to use it. So what I'm going to come here is very simply, I'm going to create a JSON, right? And this is going to be super simple. Don't get worried if you have not done this before. Just simply come here. We're going to input email. We are going to import message, or actually I'll just start with subject and then just copy this, okay, put a comma, paste this again, and we're just going to write email body, right? That's great. Now in the email part, one thing that you have to do is switch this from fixed to expression. Okay, once you switch this to expression, you can drag and drop fields from here. So in the email, I want to select from email, so let's say from email, and I'm just going to put this here. I want to input the subject, right? And again, remember, whenever you're building a JSON, you have to have all the values within double quotes. I'm going to take this and I'm going to put this under subject, and then I'm going to take the email body, which is literally listed as snippet here. If you see, this is my email body is listed as snippet when I'm fetching it from Gmail. So you have to take that and select double quotes and come back here and take this from a snippet. Okay, perfect. Now let's test this, and you will see that this is now transformed. This whole data, which has like so much crazy information that we have no value for, gets transformed into something beautiful, which is like this, right? Like an email, subject, and email. So some emails don't have any body, like a DMARC report which comes and something like that, and you can just have that information available. Okay, so this is great because once you have edited this field, you can just simply come back here and come back to our option of responding to webhook. Now double click. Again, you get this here, and only thing that you have to do is respond with all input JSON items, right? Now, when I say input, you can see this is the input that is coming in, right? And you can switch the input. So in case you want it to be Gmail, you can do that. Because we have already edited Gmail's data into a better format, we are going to select edit fields option, okay? And because that's done, we can actually also come here and rename this tab, right? So we can say modified Gmail data. So for better readability, you can also just simply say, and this will look better now, you can select modified Gmail data. Instead of Gmail, we are going to select modified Gmail data, and we want to respond to the webhook with this. Okay, this is your literally first workflow, and I get it. It's, if you're done doing this for the first time, it looks a bit here and there and a bit complex. It's not, it's super simple. Just get started with this. Now I understand if you're doing this for the first time, it might seem like multiple steps, but it's super simple. You just select a webhook, get all the emails, modify that data, and respond to that data. Now what we're going to do is we are going to come back here and select production URL. I'm going to copy this data, right? And what I want to do this is respond immediately. Now I want to select this from respond immediately, because if I just click respond, it will just send out the data that it is getting. I wanted to use response webhook node, which I already have built, right? The node that we just built, and you can see there is a path and XYZ. We can change that path or something, but we are just going to keep this. Like, let's say if I want to change this to a path, I can say Voiceflow YB demo, right? Because it's just simple. This is the path that it changes to, and this is just like a good to look at thing, and also better readability and stuff. Perfect. So we have the URL. We are just going to copy this and move this to active. Okay. So workflow is activated and everything is good to go. Let's come back to Voiceflow. Now again, Voiceflow, very simply come back to your canvas. Only thing that I have is welcome to n8n Voiceflow demo. And if I just click this, there is literally nothing happening, right? And you will literally end up with technically just a message and the chat will end. So let's just see, I just want to run it for once. Welcome to n8n Voiceflow demo. Work with me by booking a call in the link below. And that's true, guys. If you want to work with me about AI, there's a link in the description. Go ahead and book that. Awesome. Perfect. Let's come back here and we're going to take this option and select development and select API. That's it. All you have to do is select API. Now you see this URL that we have copied from here, right? This particular URL, right? Okay, and it's copied. You can see this URL is copied, and we're just going to come back here and paste this URL here. Okay. Honestly, that's how simple it is to connect these two things. I'm just going to say get data from n8n and put this, and let's test this, right? So send request. It should technically trigger this in a couple of seconds, and you get all of this amazing data in one shot. And I love this, right? Like this response here is everything that we wanted. We got all the emails that are unread from our Gmail account into Voiceflow. But what do you do with all of this, right? Now, one thing is very simply, we want to come back here, double click on this thing, and input capture response, because we want to capture all the JSON data that is coming in and bring it and use it in our agent, right? And I'm going to create a variable, right? So I'm just going to create email JSON. I'm going to create this into red and select this. Perfect. Now, because we have input everything here, we want to come to this part, which is capture response, and put this response keyword. Response keyword just technically takes all the response that is coming in, so that whole JSON thing, and puts it into a variable. We have just created a simple variable, apply to email JSON. Now, the next thing that we need to do is this response does not actually get rendered in a format that we want. It gets rendered as an object notation. So what we are going to do is just bring in a JavaScript object here. Okay. Come back here, type in the variable that we have stored the response into, email JSON, and click JSON.stringify and get email JSON, right? I just have a simple call of message where we can see email JSON. And let me just play this, and you can see actually how this looks, right? So because we are going to put this data back into chat, you see how it works, right? So you can see this is all the data that is coming, that's we're getting from the agent. What we want to do is here is very simply take this option and select response AI, right? And come here again. I'm not going to do like super crazy prompting here. For that, you can check out my other videos. What I'm going to come here is simply, you are an AI email assistant which can summarize and craft responses. Okay, what I'm going to come here is simply take this, select here. Here are all the unread emails that I have, and I'm going to select email JSON, right? Create a summary. Perfect. Now, once this is done, what I also want to give an option is I want to get user's response, right? Now, user might want to do something here, right? And I'm just going to say select entity. I'm going to capture entire user reply, and we're going to take this again. Just take this option, duplicate this part, right? And I'm just going to say connect this part here, right? Because the point is this is getting data from n8n copy. I just want it to allow the response to user, right? Because we want to do some more actions in this. So here is the unread email data. Here is the last response from the user. So we'll just put last utterance. So in case you to craft an email or something like that, we'll see. Based on the user response, execute the actions, right? And then let's just very simply, we're going to connect this and this back. So let's actually test out this agent and how it looks, right? Because again, very simply, you're getting the response and getting everything, you connected everything, but how does it actually look, right? How does it actually work? So come back here, very simply, I'm just going to delete this extra blocks in the meantime. So I'll remove and see how this actually turns out. So first thing I'm thinking is it should technically just give me a summary of the emails. It should not prompt any message except like the welcome thing, right? And then again, if I just switch off the debug mode, you can see obviously one issue that is happening is the number of tokens that it is able to use is less, right? So I'm going to come back here and actually increase the number of tokens. I'm just going to make it 800 or something like that, and click on play. And then let's see how it actually works now. It should give me a full summary because again, it was doing pretty well for the previous ones. Let's see. It gets all the data, it's fetching all those things, it's triggering the agent there. Welcome to Voiceflow. Perfect, right? So again, automated email asking me to subscribe to your YouTube channel, highlights that 97% of video viewers don't subscribe and suggest. That's obviously one thing. All of you watching, please subscribe to the channel if you like my video till now. It will help me out a lot, right? And then again, you have all the other summaries and everything, right? But again, the summaries are not great. We can obviously improve the prompt and stuff, like, you know, you can say, like, you know, create a detailed summary or create something like that, and, like, you know, maybe a specific format. But again, this is working well, and showcase it to me. Right now, let's quickly just test one more action, right? Craft. I'm just going to write one thing: craft a response to subscriptions in YT channel, and a 3-step strategy to increase it. Right, perfect. Now this starts looking better. It's a more detailed summary as we just started. Like, even a couple of words can change a lot in your prompts, but very simply craft a response to subscriptions. Now let's say I've told this. Now technically it should just create a response to the email that has come about, like, you know, new subscribers and all of that, right? And you can see perfect response to Akshat Bahety email. Hi Akshat, thank you for your email. Highlighting, I appreciate the insights and I would like to propose a 3-step strategy to boost our subscribe count. Now obviously another problem happened. The number of tokens here is just too less, so I'm just going to increase that, and then it can start responding, right? But the point is, it's crafting the email, it's getting the data, but what else, right? It can't technically do anything. It can just taking the information and putting it. But how about if we send emails also from this, right? Again, what if we could send emails from here? So I'm going to actually show you a workflow that I built, and I'm just going to walk you through it. So send email using Voiceflow. Again, we create a webhook, but a couple of things change in this webhook. Now, first thing is we need to select a method. So we are going to choose from a get method. Get method, as you know, is just simply from someplace. Post is just completely opposite of that, which is like sending the data to someplace, right? So whenever you want to send information from Voiceflow or any other place, you are going to use the post method. And again, the same path, you can change the part to say, like, you know, send an email. Let's say send an email, right? And again, whatever you do it better, send an email, right? And that's the path, and you can just copy this URL. You can also switch to a production URL and do that, right? So let's say we want to just use test authentication. Technically, you should have some authentication whenever you are doing a post request or even a get request, so that nobody outside, like, you know, somewhere in the world can just use this, because you all are watching this video. You can technically use this URL. If I don't, like, you know, if I activate it and anyone can use it, and that becomes a problem, right? So always use some kind of authentication if required. For our purposes, we are just going to keep this side. And again, same option, respond using the webhook node. Again, I have another option selected here, which is raw body, right? And again, if I delete this, if I select this option and select raw body, what is raw body? When you are sending data, you need to actually define the body response that n8n is going to get. Very simply, because the point is option of, like, you know, sending data. We want to, like, now craft an email in Voiceflow, take that information and actually trigger an email to an email ID, right? So we are going to select this raw body option. In the settings, we don't want to do anything, and we're just going to keep it there. Now, if you see here, there is an option here, very simply, about sending an email option, right? Now, again, Gmail account, message, I've just put to subject and message. Now you would be like, Akshat, where the hell is this information coming from? And you would be correct, right? Where is this actual information actually coming from? Now let me actually show you how does this raw body look for, right? So very simply, if you see here, this is how it will look: to subject and a message. This is how we are going to craft the response in Voiceflow and then trigger an API call to send the email, right? Now again, we'll simplify this as we go ahead. Very simply, this is how the body looks. So what I'm going to do is, just to show you actually a demo, come back here, take this URL, right? Take this URL and copy this and come back to this particular part. And we're going to select an API option. Again, drop it. Instead of get, we're going to choose post. We're going to paste our variable. And then if you see here, we're going to click on body. And obviously you can see the option of raw. I'm just going to do a very simple thing. Copy this and paste this. And I'm technically just going to demo, right? And then what I can do is, I can come back here, test workflow. I'm just going to test this right now and click on send request. Okay, apparently we landed up with an error. Perfect. Now again, very simply, the error was very stupid thing. Again, I thought like something wrong has happened. You just have to add a header which simply says content type application/JSON, because the point is, when we are sending this raw data, it does not know if it is actually going to be JSON, it is going to be a string, it is going to be an XML format or something like that, and we have to declare this as the header. Come back here, send request, and you can see perfectly sends an out an email. Everything is triggered, workflow is successfully executed, and if I bring you back to my Gmail, technically you should get this email, demo133. 45, and this email was sent automatically with n8n. We finally perfectly get an email, and that's great, right? So again, you got the email. Now the last option that you're doing is responding to the webhook in a specific format. So the only way I'm responding is I'm just using the response ID, which is like technically just output that, because I want to respond with a JSON and I just want to do like, the simple stuff rather than everything. And that is how it, like, I just get an email ID as a response. I can do it differently because I just want to know that, okay, is the email sent? And if it is sent, then I can give a confirmation to the user. Right, perfect. But now if you actually want to integrate this with Voiceflow, you need to do a couple of more steps, right? The email is going and everything, but now based on the user response, execute the action. Right, now let's say if the user's goal is actually to send out an email, right? So what we're going to do is come to set AI and very simply here set JSON, right? And I'm going to come back here and select and input a prompt based on the user response, user request, which is literally mentioned in the last utterance. Create, if the user wants to send an email, create a simple JSON in the following format, right? And you have to describe that. You really have to describe, like, the JSON format, and just put this here, right? So this is the format that we want to use, right? Ensure to strictly reply with the JSON only. Right, now again, this data is going to come, but I want to then again simply come back to our email JSON. I'm just going to use the same variable instead of creating new. Come to prompt settings. I'll have to use Claude 3.5 HiQ, and then again, very simply, I'm going to say simply respond with the JSON in the format mentioned. Instead of simply, I'm going to say strictly respond in the format mentioned, right? And that's pretty much it. Now, once this is done, and if all our AI gods are with us in the demo, in the live demo, I'm just going to come back here and select email. You can just simply put email JSON here and make that as a variable. So again, very simply, when you're mentioning variable in the raw format, it will not actually show you if it is a variable, but you should just trust it, right? And once that is done, we can just simply, like, put this all here, come back here, right? And technically just trigger an email, and I'm going to trigger something like, something super simple, so that we can just see how it actually works, right? So very simply, let's take this data. Again, I also want to do probably one more thing, is based on the user request and the email JSON, this has data of multiple emails, and here is the conversation history. And we're just going to write BFMP. Why have I described this? Because again, if you see, if I just give it the last utterance, it will not know whom to write the email to or whatever and all of those things. So we're just going to do that, right? And I'm going to say here, based on the if and respond in short, respond in less than 200 words, right? Because the point is I want it to be a small email and everything else. Okay, so perfect. So let's test this. We are just going to click on start and see how it actually comes out to be, right? Again, it's going ahead and fetching the emails. We've got the emails, and I'm just going to write, like, send an email to Akshat that what's your plan for 2025 to scale to 100K subscribers. It sounds super weird when you're talking about yourself, but very simply, like, let's see how it actually works out, right? Does this actually work out, right? And technically, again, fingers crossed, it should be able to send an email. Okay, so it triggered here. Let me come back here and see if it actually, like, I can come here and you can click on execution, then you can actually see if the email worked, right? So it's around, yes, I think it did work. Perfect. Let's come back to Gmail and see if it worked here. Amazing, right? This is so great, right? Hi Akshat, I'm curious from scale 100 to 100K subscribers and XYZ. Achieving this ambitious goal, would love to hear your detailed roadmap. Just in that one step, it has crafted an email, sent out a great email, and actually delivered it, right? We did not have to do a lot. Like, literally, the JSON is being created here automatically, and Haiku is, like, and you can see, like, the JSON is getting created here, information is getting created here, and everything is sending. Obviously, we can, like, probably, like, match these responses so the output is same, but you can finally get the email data, actually trigger emails, and build, like, a complete AI assistant for yourself in, like, multiple different options. Like, whatever you want to do, you can do that. Perfect. Let's come to the final step of this whole video. I want to show you one more integration, which is actually how to integrate a Google Sheet with n8n and Voiceflow, right? So come back, and now I'm going to actually just walk you through this process so you can see it pretty simply. Google Sheets integration with Voiceflow. Again, super simple, set up a webhook, right? Super simple, just set up a webhook. Again, we are going to choose a get webhook rather than a post one because we want to get information, right? And once that is done, come back, come to Google Sheets. Again, I have created a Google Sheets credential. Same logic, click on create new credentials and you can sign in and do all of that stuff. I'm going to close this. And then I've selected a document from the list. So very simply, you can select multiple options. You can see multiple availabilities here, but we're just going to select sales data Voiceflow demo, which is something that I've been using for a long time. And then I select a particular sheet, which is something which is interesting here, right? So I'll just show you the sheet. This is how it looks. This has multiple sheets like electronic sales data and retail sales data. But right now, just for ease of uses, I'm just going to select one sheet. If you want to use multiple sheets or you want to use a sheet based on the user response, I can tell you how to do that, but that will be like a complete separate video. So subscribe to see how that is done. But very simply, from a list, select electronic sales data. And then I don't want to do anything else, right? I just want to keep the data, respond to the webhook. Again, on this option, I am just responding with all incoming items, and that's literally based on the previous note, right? So everything that comes from the sheet, just send it here. Now, is that a great option? No, not at all, because the point is right now this sheet is pretty small, right? Like very simply, electronic sales data is 5 rows. That's fine. 5 rows sending back is great. But if you have multiple rows, you should then 110% go ahead and change some options here, like add a filter, change something, and based on some option, maybe you want to select quantity sold should be greater than something or like that, and then again do that. But again, for demo purposes, we are going to keep it simple. So very simply, what are we going to do? Again, come back here, copy this URL as always, right? And copy this, come back here, and we are just going to disconnect this because we want this to be a separate thing. You can obviously connect this and give an option. Take again our favorite API step, bring it here, press on step this, and then again do the whole thing again. Just simply capture response, right? Select variable. I'm going to create JSON. Okay, let me just, what happened? Okay, I pressed. I'm just going to select very simply, I'm going to create a JSON. So I'm going to create electronic sales data JSON. Let's just do this simply. Okay, and press red, click on say JSON, and we can send the request and get data. But another step that we have to do here is JavaScript. Again, very simply, sales data JSON, JSON.stringify, same thing that we did before, because again, we need to send this data back to ChatGPT and it needs to have that information. Because we have to send that data back to AI, we are just going to do this and simply say, again, I'm just going to do something super simple, response AI, create a summary of the data. Right, very simply, again, email, not email, it's going to be sales data JSON, and respond to that, right? Again, we are just going to show a quick demo of how this looks, and you can see the response. From settings, I'm going to increase the response here to a bit, so you get all the data. And let's come back here, and let's see, test workflow. We have the test URL set up, and click on play. Fingers crossed, it should work. It will work, hopefully, right? Again, pretty simple. If it does not, we'll solve the errors. But yeah, this is just how with simple steps you can create a complete assistant, right? So very simply, we got an error. That's great, right? Webhook workflow could not be started, right? So why is that an error? Why did the error come there? Okay, let me just test this. Is there some issue here? Okay, because the workflow wasn't working. So let's see. Again, let me just come back. I hope the URL that I've copied is right. And paste this here. Send request. Workflow webhook error. Workflow could not wait. Stupid mistake. Instead of responding immediately, obviously you have to select using respond to webhook, because we actually have a respond to webhook option. So remember that again, and just make sure to double check stuff. Okay, but again, that's great. You get an error when I'm live testing also, so you understand things will go wrong. So just take a chill pill and work across those errors. But yeah, let's just see. Fingers crossed. Hopefully it should work and get the data. Perfect. It does actually come with everything, so total number of items sold, number of 9 units, the amount sold, and everything, right? So let's actually test with one of them. So retail sales, electronic sales data, we have washing machines 37 and 37. Total sales value is this, and that's a pretty decent one, right? What you can add to this, again, just to complete the workflow, is very simply take something like a listen, capture again, and we're going to select user reply. take again a response option, right? And very simply say, based on the user query about the following data, and I'm going to mention the data, which is simply sales data JSON, respond properly, right? And again, we can just simply increase the token. So you have this, connect this back here, again, simply create a simple workflow agent, and this will technically complete our agent from a data analytics perspective. We can ask questions, right? So I want to ask, like, which is the most highly sold product, right? Again, it did not work because the point is I have not set it to active again. And again, let me just show this to you because I've probably not showed this. Click on active, right? But when you switch this to active, remember that you have to use the production URL. You can't use the test URL anymore. So come back here, click here, paste it. Yep, this is the production URL, and click on run. And hopefully everything in our life is now sorted and it runs properly. If it does not, again, we'll solve it. Perfect, I got the data. Let me just say which is the most sold item, and then it will actually hopefully trigger with, like, the response. Okay, perfect. So the most sold item is iPhone with a quantity of total of 100 units sold. Is significantly higher than other units, and that's great, right? That's what we want. Again, and you can do like multiple options with this. You can completely personal assistant for anyone, right? So imagine executors, or imagine, like, employees who want, like, build sales information. So you can create a complete agent which connects with all of their tools in a single voice flow. Use n8n to connect all of this and create something amazing. Awesome. I hope you loved the video, and if you really liked it, please go ahead and, like, subscribe to this channel. It will help me a lot. And again, if you need any help, there's a link in the below. You can join the community if you are interested to be part of. You can have a conversation with me by booking a call, and we can discuss a ton of other things. Awesome. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you in the next one.